How many hours have you wasted trying to make a bass sample fit your track? Yeah, I've wasted a lot of hours on that, until I realized it wasn't worth the effort at all. When I started producing at the end of 2014, I did what everyone did. Grabbed every Vengeance bass loop and threw it in my track. Why learn synthesis when you could just drag and drop, right? But here's the thing, even big artists were doing it. It was very common at the time. I'd watch masterclasses where they'd literally steal basses from other famous tracks. Cut and paste, done. But it never sounded great. So here's what nobody tells you about bass samples. Unlike kicks, which stay the same pitch, usually your bass needs to follow chord progressions and play different notes. But the second you transpose that sample, everything falls apart. Pitch it up, now it's too short for your 8th note. So you try warping to maintain the length, but now you've got artifacts destroying your sound. No matter which warp mode you use, it never sounds 100% clean. And phase? Forget about it. You can't change a sample's phase. You can only move its timing, but if it doesn't perfectly fit your time, because the sample is too short, well, now you've got gaps, and you're screwed. For the first few months, I kept trying to make samples work, but this was around 2015, the beginning of the EDM movement, where good bass presets didn't really exist yet. Plus, I didn't even know how to use a synthesizer, so I was forced to use samples. But then halfway through my year at BPM college, synthesis became part of the curriculum, and that's when everything changed. Why was I wasting time trying to force a square peg into a round hole when I could just make the exact shape I needed? Here's what I discovered. Most bass sounds are actually simple. We're not talking about dubstep or drum and bass complexity here, just basic waveforms and basic synthesis. I became confident within a couple of months. The difference was control. With synthesis I could create any note at any length, adjust phase to perfectly align with my kick, shape the exact harmonics and character I wanted, and never worry about warping artifacts. While everyone else was digging through sample packs, I was making the exact bass I heard in my head in seconds. Once I switched to synthesis, my mixes transformed. No more muddy low end from overprocessed samples, no more phase issues, and no more wasting hours searching for the perfect bass that doesn't exist. And here's the deal, the scene has evolved. Most producers today understand this and don't waste their time on samples, but I still see beginners falling into this trap, thinking samples are the shortcut. They're not, they're the long way around. And look, I'm not saying never use bass samples. If you find a one-shot that's perfect, or even a loop that fits your track exactly, go for it. I certainly use bass samples from time to time, but that's pretty rare. What I am saying is, stop wasting time. Stop settling for good enough when you could have perfect. Because every minute you spend scrolling through samples is a minute you're not making music. But here's the thing, even when synthesizing a bass from scratch, you can still mess up the 3 most important frequencies of a bass. So do you know which ones? If not, make sure to subscribe right now, because next time I'm revealing the discovery that took me 7 years to realize, and it will change how you think about a bass forever.